Thank you, Luke. Good evening. It's a great honour to be here tonight and wonderful to look out across all of these tables at all of you. We are a sight for sore eyes. What I see in front of me is a movement, really, a movement for sustainable development, sustainable business. And what I see represented in this room are years of courage, determination to get us to where we are today. When the brilliant organisers first reached out to me about this award, my ever insightful teenagers noted that this meant I was getting old. They're of course right, but as a woman over 50, I really don't care. I mean, I look at Jane Fonda, and if I can make it that far, I'll be fine. What I do care about, however, is that this force for change not get old. We not get jaded, or distracted, or settle. We don't have time, and we don't have the right. It's hard to come to terms with the fact that for as long as I've been working on issues of sustainability and climate change since the early 1990s, we have emitted half of all global emissions and deforested an area the size of India. So I often feel like I've missed by a mile all of my KPIs. But any frustration that I feel is today channeled into the graduate students I have the privilege of working with, because I can lean back, support and push forward extraordinary committed talent, which is scarce and which many of you need. So these young people will take up leadership positions earlier and drive the systems change that we need. Early in my career, I worked for extraordinary women in the run-up to the United Nations Earth Summit, especially Gro Harlem Brundtland, then Prime Minister of Norway. And then in the follow-up to the summit, I was lucky enough to work with Wangari Maathai and Bella Abzug, among many others. Bella Abzug, a former congresswoman from New York who led the impeachment of Richard Nixon, was by now organising women internationally on environment and development issues. She was classic outer-central casting New Yorker. In her gravelly voice, she would jab her finger in the air in time to a New York staccato as she tried to get issues of justice and gender into sustainable development language at the UN. We do not want to be mainstreamed into a polluted river, again and again and again. I can hear her voice as clearly today as I could 30 years ago. And I think of it now because we know that while we work to improve performance, behaviours, outcomes, and we celebrate our successes, within today's economies and the current financial system, we haven't achieved speed or scale. And we know that deeper system overhaul is now needed. And of course, system change doesn't come easy. And now we have to contend even with woke capitalist backlashes against ESG emanating from where I live now, the United States. So as somebody who lives there, who comes from here, make no mistake, the origins of this attack in the populist right is just another manifestation of the hell hath no fury like those used to wielding unchecked power scorned. It is led by the same people who have taken away a woman's right to bodily integrity and who back Don't Say Gay legislation. It is about control. And don't make the mistake of thinking that just because populists on this side of the Atlantic used to have better green credentials, that they won't pander to this power. They do. And look no further than the manufactured xenophobic attack on refugees. If it's a bit heavy, have another glass of wine. Our collective task is to get regulation and legislation to catch up with all of your voluntary insight and action. Why? Well, because if aliens landed in Britain today, once they avoided the raw sewage spewing down the beach where they parked, they would be appalled at the state of our climate emergency response. Voluntary codes, alphabet soup, without concerted regulation and government action missing. You know better than anyone else that the current system isn't fit for purpose. Doesn't protect the planet, doesn't provide for everyone, doesn't help build resilience, won't help us leave no one behind. Maybe because necessity is the mother of invention, there is a real hope of some alignment to get some of that system reform underway, despite the geopolitical tensions that are at best distracting us, at worst delaying and diverting resources. And despite the woeful calibre of many in the political class, I think we can do this. I am cautious because I read the remarks of those who've received this award in recent years. John, Polly, Paul, a sort of sustainability Trumpton. So some of you are old enough to remember. Each one of them issued an urgent call to action in the year that they received the award. Of course, pandemics, wars, and political listlessness have got in the way. And here I am, in 2023, saying that this is a critical year. But in 2023, I think as Brits, we have to look at ourselves. As a non-resident Brit, for the moment, the sad sort that still supports West Ham, I'm immensely proud, and if there's a place on the board, I really want to get in there and sort this out, so sorry. I'm immensely proud of the hard work and the ingenuity, especially from many of you here, that have made something really from nothing. We've created a CCC, we have a floor price, a net zero mandate, we've brought forth cutting-edge work, including on transparency and disclosure. We've founded all kinds of clubs, from asset owners to insurers and everything else. And I'm so proud of the depth and creativity of UK universities, the quality of UK think tanks and NGOs in this space, and of the UK-based communications teams that perhaps you don't realise support action globally. Because of this justifiable pride, I believe we have to push back even harder on the soporific effect of the current government's lazy approach to net zero. I personally feel that there aren't enough Grant Shapps bobblehead dolls to fill the Brexit-sized hole in Britain's trade balance. But more importantly, nor am I persuaded, even after thousands and thousands of pages, that they have a plan, or more importantly, that they can execute it. So, we have, as a country, to win back our hard-won reputation for pragmatism. And we have to do so with humility, because we caused a lot of this problem in the first place. But it is inconceivable for a country as vulnerable to climate change as ours is, islands in harm's way, with growing social inequality, that we shouldn't decide to do better. And so, while I'm deeply honoured to be here today with you and to accept this award, I hope we can support the emergence of leaders, a political class that is fit for our science, fit for our business community, prepared to make necessary and bold changes to the priorities within our economy and our financial system. Because, ladies and gentlemen, friends and colleagues, I know we can do better than this. Thank you.